to order. We'll call this meeting to order, and the record will show that all 6 of us are here. And I did want to say welcome to Dave and welcome to Larry. It's nice having you both back on the Board of Finance. The second item of business is the election of chair and vice chair. After municipal elections, we always elect our officers for the next 2 years. I've been chair of the Board of Finance for some years now, and it's been an honor to serve the town in this capacity. If you're willing to have me for another 2 years, if you can stand me for another 2 years, I would certainly be willing to continue serving the town.
Allow me to make a motion to nominate you as the chair.
Steve, so Steve's got the motion. Thank you. Dave's got the second. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, hearing none, all in favor of electing me, Aaron McGarry, as chair for the next 2 years, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So that's unanimous, yes. And then also vice chair, Rob Wurge has been vice chair for the last 2 years. I don't want to speak on his behalf. I'll just sort of turn it over.
No, thank you, Aaron. Similar to Aaron, I'd be willing to continue in that capacity. With Aaron,
I'll second it. Rob Mann.
So Steve has the motion and Rob Mann has the second. So motion's been made and seconded for Rob Wurge for vice chair. Any other nominations at this time? All right, hearing none, all in favor of Rob Wurge for vice chair, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, so that's unanimous, I believe. 6, I didn't hear anyone opposing or abstaining, so 6-0 for Rob Wurge for vice chair for the next 2 years. Thank you, everyone. So we'll move on to approval of minutes for October 21st, 2021. These are the minutes. I don't know if everybody's gotten a chance to take a look at them. Go ahead, Dave.
It's not minutes. If you recall, under new business item 9, Steve made a motion to approve the transfers as presented. And I'm just concerned whether or not Paula, Amy had any changes at the Board of Selectmen.
No, we approved them
changes.
as presented at
Okay.
that time.
No problem.
Got it, right. That was the one where we said we approve it if you approve it.
And we did.
Okay, great. So then, are there any changes to these minutes? Any changes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Yep.
Sorry, I felt like I was missing something. I'll entertain a motion to approve these. Usually by the time we get into the discussion, so sorry, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. So Rob Wurge has the motion. Is there a second? Steve's got the second. Any more discussion? Okay, so all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? All right, this carries 6-0. Then we go on to correspondence, tax collector's report, July 1 to October 31, 2021. And I know that we've gotten some information from the tax collector. Was that by email? Because I know we got this report, right? We get this report as of our last meeting.
yeah, it was after that.
It was after this. That's what I thought. Any other? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it was just an update to the year-to-date.
That's what I thought.
revenue. There was a couple of highlights, if I recall, around building permits that were a bit, back. Yeah, they were a bit behind prior year and what we expected. Other than that, it was pretty healthy.
Okay. Any other correspondence that came in that is not captured here? Yes. Yes. We should, if we can add that to the minutes under correspondence. Thanks, Dottie. Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to citizens' comments. Any citizen have a comment at this time? Any citizen have a comment at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to selectmen's update. First selectman, Amy Sanash. Welcome, Amy.
All right, thank you, everybody. Oh,
Oh, okay, that's right. This
I
is a,
didn't see
this is,
that
this is a,
online. I'm
a
sorry.
hybrid meeting, so we'll go back to citizens' comments. And so, oh, do we have a screen behind us?
Yeah, but whose hand was up, Dottie? Because I didn't see that. Oh, okay.
And do we have audio for Jessica?
Yep, yep, as soon as I am. Jessica, oh, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Jessica, just for the record, could you, well, we know your name, but could you state your address for the record?
I didn't raise my hand.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm just being nosy today.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, Jessica, you can have the floor just in case you want to share any comments.
Not right now.
Okay. Thanks, Jessica.
Well, that's great. I don't see it on my side, but, okay.
Well, nice catch, Dottie.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so I think that settles citizens' comments, right? There's no one who's raising their hands at this point? All right. So we'll move on to Selectmen's update for Selectman Amy St. Ange. Welcome, Amy.
All right, thank you, everybody. So a lot is happening in the town of Thompson. I'll begin with a meeting that I had with Tara Pengesic, our Director of Planning and Development. Orla and I met with her today to discuss the community challenges, Connecticut Community Challenges Grant. That is the grant opportunity through DECD that will allow us to use some of the ARPA funds as matching money to expand, to basically get more bang for our buck. So we kind of went through what DECD was looking for. I will be having a special meeting with the Board of Selectmen potentially on November 29th. All are welcome to attend that to get an overview of what DECD is looking for in order to potentially get another $1 million from using ARPA funds as matching funds. So I'll have more details on that soon, but we are moving forward. Tara will be, after the November 29th meeting with the Board of Selectmen, Tara will be moving forward with an intent to apply. The application period begins in January. The decisions will be handed out in March or April. So it should not hold up some of the other uses of ARPA funds, including the salt storage facility and the public safety complex, which we are moving full force with. We are still looking at the public works garage site. Janet Blanchett through J&D Civil Engineers, we had some of the money in the budget from last year that we used for the initial site plan. She came up with a phenomenal plan that included putting the public safety facility closer to the road, something that we didn't envision, but it's going to be so much better for the property. Additionally, we've determined that the salt storage facility will fit perfectly in the spot that Rich had targeted. And yeah, we're excited to be moving forward with those projects. Another thing that I really want to bring to the Board of Finance's attention, and I do have Rich Benoit is in the meeting tonight with us, is that there are multiple projects, but more particularly, I think I've touched upon it, the Buckley Hill Road bridges need to be repaired. It's either a repair or close the road type of situation. So this year we put aside funds to do the initial preliminary design work. WMC was chosen after a bid process, and they gave us the preliminary design, the preliminary costs. They are at this point getting ready for grant opportunities to open up because they will be applying for a grant to help cover the cost of the bridges. The local bridge program is the program that they will be applying for. It's a 50% match grant. The bad news is the two bridges are going to cost approximately $3 million. So that leaves the town on the hook for about 1.5 million. Additionally, right now, we need to start thinking about moving forward with the final design plans, and that's going to come in at a cost of $227,100. So what I've been in conversation with Rich and with Orla about is potentially moving forward in the not too distant future with some bonding, but not just doing the bridges, but potentially doing some other projects that are necessary in town. We know the library roof needs to be replaced, so we've targeted that. The Public Works Garage is in dire need of a roof replacement. There is multiple areas where there are leaks. The Langer Pond Dam still needs to be fixed. Terry is working on a grant currently. Our portion of the cost for repairing that dam should be around $25,000 if we get the federal program funding for it. So we'd like to bulk those potentially all into one bond and get these projects done. Like I said, Richard Benoit is on the call with us tonight. If anybody has any questions specifically related to the Buckley Hill Road bridges, that he might be able to answer better than I could.
My question's on the library.
Mhm.
Haven't we been putting some
We do.
aside
Yes,
every year to cover that roof?
the last couple of years we didn't though.
It's $125,000.
Right. And I think the roof is expected to cost,
In 3 or 4 months.
right, thank you. And that was Orla, sorry. If could everybody hear Orla in the virtual audience? Thumbs up. I'm worried they couldn't hear us.
Could everybody hear me speak?
I can hear.
Okay, great, thanks, Rich.
Thanks for.
Steve, go ahead.
There are lots of bridges in town. Are there others that are in the similar status or close to it, or are there other problems we're gonna be facing?
And Rich is checking in with us right now.
Hold on.
They
All right,
didn't-
you can't see me, but can you hear me? My computer's acting up. Can everybody hear me?
We can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay. We are starting an application for some repairs on the bridge on Marcy Lane as well. I don't know what the extent of those costs are gonna be because it's pretty much in the infancy stages, but it was one of the more pertinent bridges on the shorter bridge program that showed up with some significant failures. I think that's gonna be it for quite some time. Most of the rest of the stuff, there are things that need repair, need work, but they're not replacements. They're gonna be much smaller projects. A lot of it, I believe, could be handled in-house or very minutely with some help from additional contractors.
This cost be included in the bonding you're thinking about, or is it too far down the road to include?
What do you think of that, Rich?
I honestly, that was a very brief conversation that we had with WMC after we concluded the conversations about the Buckley Hill Road bridges, and they said that they felt confident that they could start some sort of a application process to see if they could get that one on the radar for some potential funding, but there hasn't been any other conversation thus far.
Considering replacing the bridge itself or abutments or putting in a culvert bridge?
Is it for
Which one are we talking about?
Marcy Lane,
Marcy Lane, that might be a potential repair. If not, it's gonna be a redecking.
oh, so it's a minor one. Thank you.
I had a question on.
Yeah, go ahead.
on Buckley Hill. Rich, on the Buckley Hill projects, $3 million, is there an opportunity to, if we were to look at different ratings on those bridges to significantly, we don't want to downrate it for 100 or 200,000, but is there another option where heavy trucks aren't allowed, or, there's a weight limitation where we could potentially drive the cost down?
Right, so we did already look into that. We, because of the conditions of the existing bridges, most specifically the one that goes over the canal, that's why we ended up going through the state office of traffic safety and got the road designated as a no-through truck route because of the deterioration of the bridge. The bridge that goes over the canal is a concrete slab bridge, and the underneath of the bridge is exhibiting some decent amount of stress cracks. And there's also some concerns with some major voids in the abutments themselves. The abutments were original to that bridge. They're stone abutments. There's a little bit of concrete that kind of reinforces them, but there's not much there. There are some serious cracking that goes basically top to bottom on the abutments. That was the major concern when DOT did the initial inspections on the bridge, and they had called me and said, you need to come out here and meet with us. We have to discuss this right now. There has to be an immediate action taken. So that was, we reduced the load limit on the bridge for the time being, and then we applied for the no through truck status, which it works, but it doesn't work. Unfortunately, people in large trucks use their GPS. Some of them use GPS on their phones. That's not the same system that you're supposed to use if you drive a heavy truck. There are specific GPS systems for those, but they're more expensive, so they're not very popular. So that no through truck route doesn't actually show up for somebody using their phone or using just a regular GPS system that you're going to buy at Walmart or what have you. So there still is a significant amount of truck traffic that utilizes that section of road that also goes over the bridges. There are multiple signs out there. We went a little above and beyond what we were supposed to put up just to try to keep things to a minimum. But unfortunately, no matter how many signs I put up, people don't read them, or they discard them and they do it anyways. So there's very little enforcement opportunities because of Troop D is very overwhelmed and understaffed at the moment, and so we're up the creek as far as that goes.
Still to ask the question is,
Sorry, I got off track. So anyways, yes. So we tried. So my thought when we first started talking to the engineers was, instead of replacing a bridge, can we put a box culvert there? Because that would, in my mind, seemed like it would be a significant reduction in cost. My concern was not reducing the size of the actual channel of the canal due to the fact of the town's plans and our hopes to have the mill site redeveloped, and the potential for if that development included any sort of green energy, green power, if they wanted to bring water back down the canal to make it a hydropower or to get extra credits or money funding from the government to be able to put forth the project. I don't want to hold that up now by making the wrong decision. So they said, yes, we can do a box culvert. So I said, okay, good. This has the potential for being cheaper because box culverts are fairly affordable. Bridges are very expensive. Unfortunately, I was very surprised when we got the cost estimates that the cost of putting a box culvert there was very similar to what it would cost to actually put a bridge there, due to the amount of work that would be needed to the site in order to do either of the two options. So a new bridge would essentially include all new abutments and a complete rebuild of the entire structure that's there. Obviously, a box culvert would be a set in place precast structure, but the dewatering process to the canal that is there, that it doesn't take water from the river any longer. That has been closed off for years. At the moment, it's mostly stormwater runoff, but there is a significant amount of water that just kind of rests in there. So there was significant things that would need to be done to prepare the site to be able to put in some sort of a structure, which brings the cost up. And to my surprise, they were very comparable in price between putting the bridge over the river and then putting a box culvert in place of the existing bridge on the canal. So in answer to the question, I don't know that there's any real way as far as the replacement or repair, how we could save some money in the short term of things. Could we buy more time out of either one of these bridges if we could keep traffic off of it? I can't personally answer that question without consulting our engineers first.
Thanks, Rich.
Go ahead.
So in addition, one thing that I neglected to point out, the 227,100 proposed cost for the actual design, 50% would be reimbursed if we get the grant. So that's a little bit of good news. And then just to continue my report, as far as thank you, Rich, by the way.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming in tonight. As far as the ambulances are concerned, we are stuck in a holding pattern. Last week, we were supposed to receive a report from the Holdsworth Group. And that report didn't come through. And on Monday, Ed Higgins, who is the chair of Putnam EMS, sent a message stating that Bob Holdsworth would be out because of a medical condition. And therefore, the meeting that was supposed to be held this week was not going to take place. So at this point, we're looking at sometime in December, beginning of December, preferably. I'm pushing hard. There's not much we can do. The steps to actually start an ambulance service, to transfer service, it's a 6 to 7 month process. And our best option and our best hope is combining service with Putnam EMS. And we're waiting for that report from Bob Holdsworth to direct us on how we're going to form this new combined service. It's very frustrating. But according to OEMS, this is these are the steps we have to take, and there's no way around it. The check was dispersed to Community Fire Company this week. The ambulances are being delivered tonight, probably as we sit here. They're being dropped to the Public Works garage. Rich has created a space for those to get them. Currently, they had been stored on the grass. He's got a nice spot for them at the Public Works garage that he's cleared out. The supplies are coming here on Saturday morning. They're going to be stored in the registrar's closet. Mr. McGarry, Frank gave us permission to put as much in there as we could in the interim. And again, Thompson Hill Fire Company is still being gracious to continue to house the ambulance service there. So I'm very grateful to them. And yeah, that's my report.
I just have one question. On our last Board of Finance meeting, you said that the chiefs of the fire departments were meeting, and we were going to discuss the community
And-
R1 and whether they could take over
And
there.
well, I did get a message from Matt Grauer earlier today, questioning the R1. Apparently,
So the other
it's up
departments.
to the other chief to decide to allow the other companies to come into the territory. And to my knowledge, Chief Sharp has not allowed for the R1, for the other 4 companies to come and take a piece. So we're still waiting for them to get their R1.
That's what
And
my
I
question,
have no say.
that's what my question was, because I know you said you wanted to go from 24 hours to 12 or
Right,
a reduction of hours to save some costs.
Yeah.
So
And
we
it's
haven't
still not
gotten
an
anywhere with
option.
that.
We had the full R1 coverage, she could do that.
But you said we're still waiting for them to get their R1. But I thought all 4
The 4
companies have an R1. It's community that doesn't have an
community
R1.
that does not, and the other 4 could re-territorize or reclassify the territory so they could take part.
Right.
But not without, to my knowledge, Chief Sharp signing off.
They didn't want to take it without his consent.
Exactly. And so that meeting didn't go anywhere.
And so when you say they're still waiting to get their R1, you mean still waiting to get permission from community to provide R1 in community's territory?
Our
You need to do it all.
community is waiting to get their R1.
So community is still basically, they're taking the path of, we're going to go for our R1. We don't need somebody else to cover for us. It's just, I wanted to clarify when you said they're waiting for their R1, you mean
Yeah,
community
sorry.
is waiting
Community
for
is
its
waiting.
R1?
Yes.
Got it.
The paperwork was submitted, it was submitted incorrectly, it was kicked back.
Oh, jeez.
To my knowledge, it was put back in. Yeah,
The new costs that we're facing, how do they compare to what we budgeted, I guess?
well, we're paying $40,000 a month.
Like, none of which is budgeted.
At this point, we're beyond the budget.
I mean, there was some, I guess, for community, but,
Right.
so we're spending 40 grand a month times 12, that was on budget, essentially $500,000.
If I could jump.
Still
in.
hoping,
please.
still
Yeah,
hoping
please.
that by
If I could-
December, we'll have a plan in place.
Oh, I thought you said 6 to 8 more months. but-
Oh, no. If we can combine with Putnam EMS,
Yep.
then that will be a faster process.
Okay.
And we'll get,
Oh, that won't take the.
but I know
16
Rob
months,
has
okay.
been, I asked Rob Wirch to come into the meetings with us with Putnam EMS. So, sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify for Steve that we did have $75,000 for EMS
Right.
services in the budget, and we agreed to disperse that monthly.
Monthly
So when-
instead of a big lump at the
Instead
beginning
of
of the year,
the
okay,
lump. So
great.
when everything went sideways, we hadn't already allocated all of that money. So correct me if I'm wrong, Lola, but I
That's
think that could be the beginning of the 42,000 a month. And that doesn't last many months.
It didn't.
It's like 7 weeks.
Right.
But at least it's not
Some-
zero.
some offset.
It's some offset.
But we're looking at essentially close to $500,000. Actually, a couple of months have already gone by, so
If we went the
call it
whole year-
400,000,
went the
less
whole year.
75 or most of 75.
if we went the whole year. So if we can get this done in
Right.
December, then
We need
And
to,
the options that we're looking for
Sorry.
are, first is complete consolidation with Putnam EMS, where we
Right.
become one entity.
Right.
The second option that Bob Holdsworth mentioned was, we're kind of two separate entities that collaborate together for cost savings and increased revenue. The third option would potentially be, actually, there's four. Third option would be that we contract with KB Ambulance. That would be at approximately $225,000 a year. We still need a facility for them, et cetera.
Okay.
So, and then the fourth option would be we are completely independent. I think that's probably the least favorable option.
all these options require or might require our own facility,
Yes.
physical facility. All of them would have an ambulance in town, I guess. is what-
Correct.
Which I would agree with. Good, okay.
Mhm.
But we're still looking at,
Another couple of weeks.
and sounds like a couple $100,000 over expected expenditures in the ambulance service block for our
I
town.
think that could potentially be cut in half on a monthly basis if we had more cooperation.
Yeah. I hear
Well, I think
you.
that needs to be clear. I think
Yeah.
people need to know that's costing the town a significant amount.
You're referring to this
Meaning the
I'm
lack of
referring to
R1
R1? I
service.
was gonna
Referring
say
to
that
the R1.
you're referring to the R1 issue?
Yes. I mean, we're talking R1, but what it really means, the end result, the effect of it all is that.
Half the hours.
Right. Right, we could cut the ambulance coverage to half the hours that we currently have if we had cooperation on this R1 issue.
And have the same level of protection.
Right.
Oh, it's the same level?
Well, not the same level, but it's still volunteers.
Correct.
It's not the
Response.
same level of protection because you're still relying on volunteers to come out in the middle of the night
We'd have
to
24.
answer a
We,
call.
in a sense, still have 24.
With volunteers, correct.
So.
Currently, we
Daytime
have
is- Daytime
24/7.
coverage is what we would be paying for?
Most likely, it would be a certain 12-hour period in the day. And
So
again,
What
that
does
has
that
to
mean
be,
for somebody who has a heart attack? Those are the hours we don't have the service.
then it's relying
die?
on volunteers.
No.
No, it's relying
No
on
offense, but
volunteers.
volunteers means they get up and they travel to the fire station, get on a R1 vehicle. I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
And then
No,
the
no, it's okay.
ambulance still gets called out. The
Okay.
ambulance still gets called out. They're just not potentially here in town. So then it would
They
be
might come from
mutual aid.
Putnam or.
So
you know,
for East Thompson, you might get the Webster, because that's their mutual aid.
Right,
Quinnebog might get Dudley. I think West Thompson has Woodstock as their mutual aid. And Putnam, East Putnam, or Putnam EMS would be potentially any other district.
I remember hearing though that if you have a heart attack after 9 minutes, forget it. And things we're talking about ain't gonna happen in 9 minutes
Well,
without an ambulance service, you know.
what I just wanted to explain is
Sorry.
the R1 is just the response.
Right.
Doesn't mean
The
that
first
an ambulance
responder.
won't be sent out.
I understand.
Just
yeah.
like when Community was there, every time there was a response,
Mm.
the ambulance probably did go out in Community's district. I don't necessarily it went out every single time there was an accident or something happening in different sections of town. I don't believe it did unless it was called out
Right.
of Community. So the response has always been basically the local district fire department, I'm gonna call it. That's been the R1 response, and
Right.
just saves hours on, doesn't change the response necessarily, but the town is required to have a response in every section of town.
It's
So
the
right
first-
now,
it's
because
first
Community's
responder.
district doesn't have an R1 by statute, I believe, state statute, that's why we have to have 24-hour coverage from KB Ambulance right now at this cost.
It's a choice to have
that help at all?
24-hour
But
coverage.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
if you're on the non-ambulance time of the day and there's an emergency, how does the ambulance get called out? Are they
It still gets toned
called out
out.
from some other town?
Yes,
Um,
yes, Webster, Dudley, Putnam EMS, one of those other services would get called out because there's no in-town service. So
Or
if we
half the day.
eliminate 24/7 and we go to 12, then you're relying on the first responder coverage, which is what R1 is.
Gotcha, I
First
understand, yeah.
responder coverage will come from one of the 5 fire departments, should community get their
I
R1.
appreciate that, and don't get me wrong, I think people who are willing to get up in the middle of the night to do that, I can't say enough good about that, but I'm just concerned that, well, again, somebody gets a heart attack,
Mhm.
their response is not gonna be there in time.
Right.
I mean, again, if you're asking for a volunteer, kudos to them, but they're getting up, they go to the fire station, they get the vehicle, they go to the home. It's way past 9 minutes, which I think is the cutoff for, very helpful.
And I'm really glad that you point that out, Steve, because that's the reason why we have the 24/7, because
I think that's something we
there's
need to plan
nothing-
for, in all honesty. And it's nice to save some money, but we're talking people dying because we don't respond with the appropriate level of care in a reasonable time. I appreciate saving a couple $100,000, but maybe we need to face it and prepare for paying for that kind of service.
No, I have a question. It's probably, somebody might not be able to answer it. Now, when community ambulance was the ambulance, those were EMTs, correct, that ran the
Yes.
ambulance? They weren't paramedics,
no,
right?
the paramedics still get called out as well.
Okay, so see, that's
in a
a
light
difference too.
or death
And I'm not trying to downplay EMTs
Mhm.
or fire departments, but
Sure.
see, when the community ambulance got, went to a call, it was an EMT responding,
Oh, I
not a
understand, but
paramedic.
still, they could
I mean,
provide
in
service.
some cases, when another department is called out, like Webster EMS or something, you might get a paramedic, not an EMT.
Right,
So
Yeah.
that's the difference too.
Sure.
So
right.
I just want to understand, I want to understand myself. That question wasn't necessarily for everybody else, it was just, so I'd understand. So,
Well, I
They were
understand
EMTs.
that the paramedic's not there, but there's at least some response if there's a 24-a-day service.
yes, but when a fire department responds, most of the time, I would think that an EMT responds.
Oh, I
also.
understand.
Not necessarily
But
with
that's
an
some help.
ambulance,
That's
but yeah.
at least some.
And I can't remember if I shared this, but one of the things that we negotiated to make sure that we acquired was what's called the Lucas chest compression tool. And I had called community to see if they could, prior to us even paying for it, if they could let KB ambulance utilize it while they're at Thompson Hill. And they did graciously bring it to me that day because KB ambulance has 3, but they were all in their other vehicles in Killingly, Brooklyn, and Pomfret area. So they're currently borrowing it while they're here in Thompson. So it's really a life-saving tool, and it just saves them a lot.
So another question, can we ask, in light of the news that this gentleman is now ill and things are delayed, can we ask Ed, Mr. Higgins, if we could discuss or implement a bridge model, a hybrid model that may not be the perfect model, but a lot better model than the one we're in now?
Right.
And then we can change it once all this, the rest of this homework's done. This gentleman was contracted to look at the different scenarios and give some potential pro forma budgets and you know, give us all more data to make the best long-term decision. Maybe there's a short-term kind of next 6-month decision.
Yeah.
And if they're open to doing that, we could negotiate or discuss an arrangement and
Maybe we can reach out to Ed and meet with him together. Can't
that
hurt.
would be more expensive than what we're doing now, and we'd have the
Right.
same level of coverage.
Yeah, I appreciate the focus on the cost, but I'm very concerned that I want to sacrifice lives because
This
we're
would
saving
be,
a
I
few
think,
bucks.
what Rob's suggesting, if I'm correct in understanding you, is where we would move away from KB and do some type of temporary service with Putnam.
That's correct.
Replace one temporary service with another temporary service.
And I do know,
While we're
so
working
there's
towards a more permanent long-term service.
there's so many intricacies to all of this, right down to the fact that Putnam EMS, they're only allotted so many ambulances at any given time.
Call you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks. So just so happens Putnam EMS is set to get a new ambulance. KB ambulance is not. And literally, it's what's called a long form, which will take them months to acquire a new ambulance. Whereas Putnam EMS, it's a short form, so almost immediately they'd be able to acquire a new ambulance. There's so much regulation from the state of Connecticut that makes all of this complicated and difficult. I know way too much about ambulance service that I really didn't want to know necessarily, but
I guess the sort of lingering thought in my mind is it kind of sits outside of the risk of saving a few dollars and potentially someone dies because their heart attack comes during off hours. It's more community's motivation to get their R1. It feels like because Thompson is paying, is it $40,000 a month? It feels like because we're paying $40,000 a month and we really have no choice, it feels like community, the pressure is off of community. So I don't want to say that someone intentionally submitted an application incorrectly. I'm not saying that at all, but it feels like they can afford to submit an application incorrectly and it gets kicked back. Whoops, oh, we submitted it incorrectly. All right, well, let's fix it and let's get back in line. Okay, yeah, well, we're in line. Yeah, we're in line because there's no one is saying, look, is it OEMS? Is that the state agency that, look, you've got X number of days to get this done, or OEMS is going to step in and they're going to give your R1 territories to the other 4 districts, and that's it. So get it done on time. And so I guess then maybe there is no answer to this, but it feels like there's no deadline, and as long as there's no deadline, it just feels like there's no pressure on community to hurry up. And it's not anything that you can answer, but it just feels that way to me.
and from what I understand, the approval process, because it goes to Dade Kimball Hospital first, is also staggeringly slow. So it's wall after wall after wall that I feel like I keep hitting, and
Good.
I think all the departments want to continue to work together, so they don't want any animosity or anything. So they're trying, the other 4 departments are trying to not step on any toes with community. And community is trying to get their R1 back, which at the same time, I'm sure they got a lot going on over there with the bad building and doing the repairs and things they want to do. So, everybody's in over their head, but the reality is we don't want anybody in danger of their health. That's the last thing we want. I mean, we can talk cost all day long, but there's no cost for that. And I agree with you with that, Steve. But at the same time, we always got to have a solution to a problem,
And
and
Rob, I agree with that
that's
too.
that's what we're trying.
But we're in a situation where the lack
I
of
know.
cooperation is the challenge. And we have a section of our town that does not have R1 right.
And
It's
community,
supplemented by the town covering that,
And
which we
community-
already covered for once.
community made a decision to get out of the ambulance business.
That's correct.
I believe there was an arrangement this summer whereby community's ambulance was allowed to park up at Thompson Hill Fire Company. And I know there was quite a bit of, what do they say? Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. So there was a lot of hearsay going on about the people with the ambulance still had to go into the building and the building was not in acceptable shape to be going in and out. I wasn't there. I don't know, but I believe there was an arrangement where community ambulance was allowed to park up on the top of the hill, and then community decided to get out of the ambulance business. So now community is in a situation where, well, they don't want their R1 to be covered by somebody else. Well, they used to be able to cover their R1 with the ambulance itself. All right, well, they made a decision, and a lot of times when you make a decision, it's like you pull a string over here and something moves over there, and that's what happens. And so now they're in that situation. But Thompson, the town, is the one who's paying the bills because of this decision that was made by somebody else. And it just feels like they're not feeling the pressure to fix whatever is fixable on their end. It just doesn't feel like the pressure is. And to your point, I know the other companies, there's a lot of politics involved. They don't want to sort of make community feel bad, because of course, then you kind of look around the table and wonder, well, what happens when it's my company that's got a problem? The rest of these guys are going to try to gang up on me. And that's why I say, if there was an OEMS that could step in, now it's not the other 4 companies, it's the state stepping in and saying, okay, look, this is not working, so you're allowed to keep working on your application. But in the meantime, you and you cover the south, you and you cover the north, done. Okay, that's it. Let us know when you get your application in order. And I don't know if EMS can even do something like that.
to my knowledge, no, but I'll put a little pressure. Knowing what we're facing and knowing how much we're paying out that we didn't have to before, knowing the obstacles that we're facing with Holdsworth Group and this transition to Putnam EMS, I will reach out again and put a little pressure on Judy Reynolds to see what can you help us do.
What are our options?
I will do that again.
And again, even if they get their R1, it's not gonna save the entire situation. It'll just make it less worse, that's all. We're definitely in favor of anything that's less worse than what we have now.
The temporary, do you agree with
Yeah,
that?
yeah. We can meet with Ed.
You know, questions, comments?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
School district update, Superintendent of Schools, Melinda Smith. Welcome, Melinda. If you want to pull your chair up, that's fine. If you want to report from back there, that's fine. Whatever you want, we're good.
As long as everybody can hear me, I'll try to use my teacher voice.
Can everybody hear?
So
Can everyone hear
anyway,
Melinda okay?
Yes,
and-
Bob, can you hear me out there?
Thumbs up.
Yes, thumbs
Great,
up.
great.
Thank you. On behalf of the members of the Board of Education, we would just like to welcome the new Board of Finance members. And we look forward to working with you because we're soon going into budget season. Our enrollment at our schools, at Mary R. Fisher Elementary School, we have 415 students. Thompson Middle School, 300. Turtle Rock Memorial High School, 221. For a total of 936 students. That's up 1 student from last month. In special education, we currently have 25 students out of district, which is an increase over our budget amount. We're currently overspent in special education, but we are not overspent in our budget overall. And Bob has done projections till the end of the year, and it looks like right now, at this moment in time, we have everything covered. I want to talk a little bit about Vision to Learn program. The district just completed vision screening for all of our students as part of a Vision to Learn program. 168 families will receive notice next week that their children have failed the screening and will be provided with a full eye exam on site in a mobile van provided by a certified optometrist. Students who require glasses will select their eyeglass frames, and a new pair of glasses with a 1-year warranty will be provided free of charge thanks to the ESSER II grant funding. So we're pretty excited about that. And the purpose of the program basically was to identify and correct vision for students that will allow equal access to the curriculum. And recent research indicates that the added screen time that our students have been engaged with because of remote learning has actually had a negative impact on eyesight overall. So we're pretty excited about that program. And we just finished up the screening, which was done really well and very quickly. And we're looking forward to the van to come back and give all those students the eye exam. On a lighter note, we are so thrilled that we can offer Beauty and the Beast auditions on Tuesday, December 7th. We look forward to returning the theater to Thompson Public Schools. The show is the last weekend in March, so there'll be lots of rehearsals and practices from now and then. And there's a lot of buzz in the district about the joy of bringing back the theater, and a lot of students looking forward to auditioning for Belle and the Beast. As far as the business office is concerned, we are in the process of transitioning our payroll system to ADP. We are going to be running a couple of test payrolls over the next few weeks with our goal of a complete transition by the first of the year. That's new for the district. We are hoping that that will fix a lot of the some of the errors that come up in payroll, and making sure that all those tax charts and tables and everything are accurate and up to date. So we are very excited about that. A basic COVID update, just so everyone knows that we are experiencing an uptick of positive cases of COVID. Most of the exposures are coming from home exposures and not school transmission. We recently had a vaccine clinic with Putnam and Woodstock at Putnam Middle School, which is in partnership with Bay Kimball Hospital. Our teachers who went for boosters, and then any student grade ages 5 to 17 were able to go and receive a vaccine if that's what their family chose to do. And then a special shout out to all of our fire stations. So this is appropriate. We're joining together to promote High Five Fridays for the Mary R. Fisher students on October 29th. as they arrived to school. 18 firefighters and emergency personnel greeted students on their own time, by the way, as they arrived at school. The program was coordinated by Justin Young, who's a parent of our students at Mary R. Fisher and a very involved community member. So shout out to the fire department and thank you. It was great and we can't wait to see them back next month. That's my report.
Questions for the superintendent? Go ahead, Steve.
You mentioned 168 students were identified as needing eye health. Those were previously unidentified or some of them
So
already?
some students do have glasses, and what we found out when we were screening the students, many of them that already had glasses, either lost them, broke them, or haven't been to the eye doctor in multiple years. So I'm sure that there are some parents that are up to date with their children's, vision care. But we saw through the conversation, especially with middle and high school students, that they've either lost their glasses, they broke them, they haven't been to the eye doctor since before COVID. So we're hoping that we're going to capture a lot of students that might not be able to see the board, and that's like a big barrier to learning. So we're excited about this program. We're blessed that we had the grant funding from the federal government to do it.
Questions, comments? Thanks, Melinda. Financial report, Finance Director Orla McKiernan Raftery. Welcome, Orla.
Thank you, Aaron. Everybody can hear me online? Look, thumbs down. Thumbs up. I guess that you can hear me. I too want to welcome back Larry and Dave to the board. It's wonderful to have you guys back on board and looking forward to working with both of you. Get straight into the budget. Okay, so today we're reporting on the first 4 months of the year 22. On property taxes, we collected 10.518. Size of the report that Rainey sent forth. Current taxes are 10.22 million, and that's just under 800,000 higher than we were this time last year. Prior year taxes are higher than last year by 33, and interest and liens are also higher. Not a lot of grants came in this month. We did get the muni stabilization grant for 4,159. For the month of October. Our local revenue total is 656. We're $30,000 higher than last year. For the most part, that's due to I think I reported this to you last year. Last month, we got $30,000 in sale proceeds for $13.95 for the site drive. Our expenses, we've committed 4.219. Our balance sheet, less money this month than last month by 862, and our cash is higher by last year by 2.185. No changes to surplus. Any questions in relation to our year-to-date numbers?
You mentioned sale of property on Riverside Drive.
Yes.
And so you mentioned the number, but where's the location? Like, you obviously mentioned the number, but where's it near?
Where is it? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, it's in the Wilsonville section, just before the Wilsonville Road turnoff, the old stove shop, known as the old stove shop, 1395. The person that bought it owns the actual property immediately next to it and had been
That makes
using
sense.
it to get to their driveway. So.
It's very convenient if they own it now. Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
I had a couple.
Go ahead.
One was on the town council, on the expense side, that looked to be all eaten up or all used up already. I think I know why, but could you elaborate as to why we've used the full
Okay, so-
budget through 4 months?
Sure, so our town council budget is $36,000. We spent 5,500 in October. Year to date is 9,486. So the balance is open purchase orders that we have. Ready for.
So we've committed all of it.
We committed it.
What's driving the fact that we've committed all of it in 4 months into the year? That
So
means we
what-
have 0 left to commit to the rest.
So what we do is we open up the purchase orders based on previous year's experience. At the end of the year, should we not fill that purchase order, we'll close that.
it's an open purchase order, but the hours aren't spent. The numbers are committed, but the hours aren't spent.
Right.
That's great. Thank you. I noticed on the fire departments, there was about 75,000 remaining. That based on the fact that we haven't allocated the EMS money. In full.
Maybe have $75,000.
Normally that would be zero by now, right? Because we would,
Well, it's a combination. Remember that budget is the entire budget, not just
that's right.
specific. It's not just specific to the grants that we submit to the fire department.
That's
So
right.
it's an accumulation of various expenses, monthly charges for Connecticut water. I don't have the details, I
Okay.
thought I have to report to the guys, break down by budget line item, but within that budget, there's Connecticut water, so that's a monthly charge. I don't know what the monthly charge is.
Workers' comp maybe, or things like that.
Yeah.
Insurance.
No, workers' comp is actually.
That's right, working.
Rather than what we spent, I guess the underlying question is of the 75 that's remaining, is a good, big portion of that due to the fact that we haven't allocated all of the EMS money yet. The earlier
No.
discussion about having some coverage for the 42 a month.
No, it's
No.
not. No, we're pretty much, of the 75,000 that we committed, okay? Community ambulance, is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
We're pretty much done with that.
Sorry, when you say done, you mean,
By the end of October, most of that $75,000 is already spent.
Because
I'm sorry, spent, I'm sorry, same question, I'm sure.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Spent where?
Maybe ambulance.
Okay, all right, I didn't know you were gonna say that or community.
You know, when did we start using KB ambulance? Was it
It
beginning of
was
September or the
6 weeks
middle
ago.
of
Close to
September?
the end, middle to end of September.
So we've got September, we've got
Right.
October billing. Some of it certainly is then, because we've been billed through the end of, we've actually billed currently, but this includes payment. Yeah.
But we had made payments July.
We had
August,
paid
and
3 months,
September.
which is approximately a little bit more than $6,000 a month. So we had paid out about $19,000, 75, to the ambulance.
Right.
Because we covered the months of July, August.
My last question is around security. There was a sizable balance left, 50,000.
Yes.
Will that be accounted for?
Yeah, well, so we actually, since I issued these reports, I did a similar thing with the purchase order. So that staffing is actually on the school's payroll. We reimburse the school. Bob bills me on a bi-weekly basis when they operate the payroll, and we reimburse the school.
Got it.
So if that dollar amount is,
It is, so it's a timing,
Yeah.
timing.
it's a total.
The school's already paid it, reimbursed hasn't gone through, so
Exactly.
it looks like the burn rate is much lower than 4 months.
Yes, we covered, reimbursement for the whole month of October. This week's check, you're not gonna see this.
And just to let you know, security is running over because of the volume of traffic and all the other things that we've had to do this year because of COVID-related issues. So the Board of Education did vote to allow us to transfer money out of the BOAG line into security to cover that overage to the end of the year. So we will use all of that and then
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Sure, go ahead.
Number one, do we have a set of guidelines regarding transfer funds and how they are used? Now, I understand we're 200,000 in the red. Ambulance, we could be in red with regard to snow removal. There are other factors, boilers go, this and that. These are emergencies. But looking over the transfer list, it appears to me, I don't know the internals, I'm new, but it appears to me that we're spending money where we need not to spend. So, and I think that relates to your question, Rob, with regard to attorney's fees. You know, we're looking for money this year. And I'm just asking, do do we have guidelines governing over expenditure in a particular line item?
So you're referring to the budget transfer similar to what we approved last year?
What we did last,
So typically, we're not going to generate anything that's going to put a specific line item over unless it's been brought to the attention of the Board of Finance or the board. So usually it's the Board of Selectmen, which in turn ends up being the Board of Finance.
right,
We tend to typically have over, and this might have been the case, we were back on the board 4 days, where we budget our fringe benefits. We'll always spend it. We're able to use some of those funds to allocate against overages in certain line items. But in general, if there's going to be any specifics with regards to a budget line item or a department being over budget, Amy's going to bring it to the attention of her board and in turn, she's going to bring it to the attention. So there should be no trade. Last year was very different. There were so many ups and downs with regards to COVID.
okay, I was just curious as
yeah.
to
I think.
procedure.
Sure. Now, some of the bigger items, some of the additional line items on the budget transfer line last year was in relation to transfers to cover the unbudgeted pay increase to our union staff.
Don't we normally,
Well,
in the past, we'd have a undeclared fund where we would put 20, 30,000 in, which would,
typically, but last year was a little bit different. So when we were budgeting during COVID, during 2020, we had we had made the decision that we were moving some potential pay increases. We were also in a negotiation year with the union at that stage, but we weren't locked into any increase. There was a miscommunication with regards to what was accepted by the union. Amy had approached the union and said, "This basically what is going to end up being is we're looking to move forward and copy the last year of the budget contract to cover it for 2020 because of our
I
potential."
understand all that,
Yeah.
but we usually put enough money in that to cover
We do. We typically
salary
do.
increases plus any other emergencies in a minor way that would come along to avoid transfers. We would just transfer it out of the fund and into a particular account.
That year was not done that way because of the issue with regards to
Okay.
to the COVID and the year that was.
The other question I have is the Marinapolis sewer project. When I was, just before I left, it was approved. I didn't approve of it, but I was not here at the time. And I'm just curious as to obtaining a financial analysis as to what that project is costing the town of Thompson. I mean, the original agreement was Marinapolis was to fund the capital and interest expense. But now, in the past month or so, I said, 70,000 from the town, from this agreement, Amy?
This is Amy St. Ange, we were in a litigation and it was determined through
I
council.
understand that, but that's a cost to the town.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we also approved something like 200,000 for lawyers for this litigation.
That was approved prior,
I understand.
right,
But
but
that's
nothing was spent, but the 70,000 is what was spent of that 200,000 that was approved.
That covers the attorney's fees?
Correct. Well, the 70,000 was settlement.
I understand that, but we haven't paid the attorneys yet.
So the attorneys were previously paid. So originally, after the 2.4 million was spent, we approached Board of Finance, there was the additional $200,000 appropriated.
I'm aware of it.
My understanding, and I'll come back to you with definite numbers after the meeting, but it's approximately $25,000 of that $200,000 to spend on additional litigation that was not covered in our 2.4. So I believe, this is my total estimate, and I don't have them in front of me, but of that $200,000, approximately $100,000 was spent when all said and done. And my understanding now is we paid the last lawyer bill about 2 weeks ago, Amy, and that's it. There's no more expenses.
So what about the original?
2.4 million, that's all gone. And it's all,
Now, what share has Marinapolis taken?
so of that 2.4.
Well, let's not, why don't you just, can't you just put
Sure.
that and get it to us so we can
So I can
see.
send that to all of you next week. And then in December's meeting, we can have a discussion about that. Does that sound okay?
I just
Great.
want to
Yeah,
find out where we are at in terms of the commitment that the town has made.
There's a long history there, Dave.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, no problem. I'll be happy to share that.
Thank you.
Did you have any other questions, Dave?
No, I'm in the process of looking at your extended budget
Sure.
and the past budget, but time is precious. I haven't got there.
Well, feel free to drop in anytime. And the same to you, Larry. We can go through any of the numbers between now and then. A couple of other things that are going on that I wanted to give you guys updates on. Rod, you had asked me about the fixed asset schedule. I just gotta get the approval from the auditors and I'll send it out to you guys next week. So what we're talking about now was a discussion in last year's audit report with regards to how best to manage finance the fixed assets and how to resolve much of the assets that we're no longer using. So I've been working with the auditors, working with the school. Most of the disposals are actually at the school level. We brought it down to, 35 pages down to about 18. And there's a new asset list. Now, unlike typical years, we had a huge amount of new assets this year because of all the COVID money. Most of it on the IT field, there is some equipment, there is some furniture and fixtures, there is some building improvements, majority of it is IT. So it's still going to be about 18 pages, but it's a heck of a lot less. The auditors will be happy to go ahead from that, and then I'll send it over to you guys. Audit, we're still working to finalize those. Oh, go ahead.
If I could, on that topic.
On fixed assets,
Fixed asset topic, I think what's important it's important to have it cleaned up, and that's great. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Then from here forward,
Yep.
we need a periodic check-in, whether that's quarterly or twice a year or annually, the maintenance of that, because it's not a depreciation line like a business has, it can get lost. And I think it's important to have at least once a year, have it clean, kind of revisited. And then it's also important to have a process around disposal. Can't just be eliminated from the list and they're gone. Are they sold? Are they donated? How do we handle, what's the process? It should just be a basic, one page, dispose of an asset, here's what then it'll be squeaky clean after that. Every audit, you just pull it out and say.
So because we're cash basis until the end of the year, we don't record any depreciation during the year, but we are modified accrual for our audit report purposes, which basically means we generate things like depreciation in our audit. So it's really an annual thing,
Once a year.
once a year. So yes, that'll be part of the year-end process back to you guys. And yes, I will put some paperwork in place that can streamline, so you will know what's going on. But all of the necessary department heads are more aware. I always went to the department heads to find out if they purchased assets. I didn't always go to them and say, hey, this is 25 years old, are you still using it or is it in the scrap heap? And that's what we did a lot of. I worked with Paula when I was in Ireland. She spent a huge amount of time when I was over there in August, going through, talking to each of Bill Birch, talking to Heather on IT, talking to the library, talking to all, Rich in particular, he has so much of it, even here at the town hall level. So we were able to chop that list. So yeah, so we'll get something generated next week. Now, the next thing, just in relation to the audit, those final pieces are happening. The audit will be filed within the next few weeks. I know they have to swing back to the school level, but they don't need to come back out again. Just got to reconnect with Bob on a couple of things. Bob, I don't know whether Marshall has reached out to you, but he will be reaching out to you in the next week or so, just to go through those adjustments that came out of the EMF, the EFS, and a number of different things. But hoping that they'll be here in December, but either way, we won't be filing an extension and we'll be filing on time. That's where we stand on the audit. And the next thing I want to talk about is the school roof. So this was a crazy week and a half for this whole thing. So just to go back to where this whole thing started. So as you know, the school roof, our short-term funding was maturing on the 1st of December. Based on my conversations with Bill Birch, it was clear that we were going to have to extend it. Him and I discussed whether we would do 6 months. We both decided it made sense to do it for 12 months. That covers us just in case the state is so far behind that we don't get it until September, October of next. Went back to our bond attorneys, went back to our financial advisors. We were moving forward with this process. And at the beginning of last week, the option came up with regards to doing it a little bit different. As you know, interest rates are still reasonably low. Either with that, our short-term funding, if we did extend it for a year, we were going to get a nice whopping, very low rate of 0.7%. We're not going to see that for much longer. But the long-term funding, it seemed worthwhile investigating that as an alternative option. That's one that I reached out to you all and suggested that we have a meeting. In the meantime, bond attorneys came back and said, you know, in reality, you don't have to do this. Now, as a matter of course, in the way I carry out my tasks here and in my role, I always come back to the boards and ask, even if I don't necessarily have to. You know, transparency is our number one thing here, so it's important that we keep the necessary boards clued into what's going on. This became a really tough timing issue. So Amy and I and Aaron made the decision that if the bond attorney is telling us that we don't have to have that special meeting and you're not voting on anything, it seems pointless to go ahead with it. But what we did do was we went ahead with the process of working with the financial advisors and the banks to secure the option of ending and finalizing the financing for this school route. So we borrowed 2.5 million. Now we backtrack even further. We approved borrowing of 4.7 million. After review, it wasn't needed. We ended up borrowing 2.5 million. The bid was awarded a little bit less than 1.9, but in conversations I had with various different parties, it seemed necessary to add that contingency up to 2.5. If worst case scenario, when they pulled off no roof, in the worst situation than they. Good news is, it wasn't. It's done reasonably smoothly, right? So at the moment, we've spent 1.7 and change, and we have 2.5. We don't need to borrow 5 million. So in discussion with Amy and Aaron, the decision was made that we would borrow $2 million. That gives us that extra little cushion in case there's any last minute change. So then we go back to what we're going to do with regards to this loan. Our typical short-term loans, as opposed to bond issues, are 10 years. So as you remember, the oil spill, a number of years ago, we had to borrow a little bit less than $1 million to cover the cost of our oil spill litigation. We ended up settling. So in turn, when we settled on that $550,000, you may remember back in 2018, we paid off a portion of that loan and we drew down on that principal. The principal of that loan now is a little bit less than $2,000. Now, I haven't approached you with regards to paying it off because the interest rate is low. So our debt service is low enough, it's manageable, it's budgeted, we can leave it as is. This loan that was presented to us as an option, as a 10-year option, is a similar interest rate. They were talking last week about possibly 1.72, but we have to lock it in. The locked-in rate ended up being 1.86, and we moved forward with that on Wednesday morning. So we have borrowed $2 million for 10 years at 1.2. And that's the summary of the information that I provided to you in the email that I sent out. Before I move forward, does anybody have any questions on that part? Yes.
I assume, if I recall correctly, that this loan is the same as the previous loan we were talking about. Once we receive the reimbursement from the state, we can pay it off.
Well, that's going to be the next part of the conversation. So when we went to lock in the rate yesterday morning, Amy and I were with our bond attorneys and the banking financial advisors, we were informed that there would be a restriction with regards to paying off a portion of the loan that we received as a reimbursement, and we would not be able to do so. My heart rate went crazy, and I thought I was finding this out a half an hour before locking in the rate. I think it would be miscommunication or misunderstanding. We knew what we needed to do, and we made that very clear. But when the bank came back to our financial advisors, they informed our financial advisors that we would not be able to pay off any portion of the loan. Where does that leave us? Immediately, we contacted bond attorney. Bond attorney said there's a couple of different options here, but the bottom line is still wouldn't be able to pay off. So, the initial thought was, there's 3 different options, right? I'm gonna put this in an email to you guys after the discussion. I chose not to send it to you via email, because it was way too confusing. But there's 3 options here with regards to moving forward. We can take the reimbursement that we receive next year, put it in a money market or put it in an investment account. You cannot earn, and you can not earn any higher than what we paying for interest. Our interest rate is 1.86. If we take that money, invest it somewhere, we cannot earn any more. Now, as you know, the interest rates at the moment for any earnings are a heck of a lot less than 1.86. So in the short term, that's not gonna happen. So the next option would be is we take some of our existing loans and potentially, when we receive the reimbursement from the state, pay down on our existing loans. I'll give you an example. Our school bond that we took out in 07. We took a bond out for 13 million. We refinanced it in 2015 down to a rate of 2.4. I think we went down from 2.75 to 2.4. 2.4 is higher than 1.86. So our bond attorney is looking into the option of potentially drawing down and paying the principal off of that loan when we receive a reimbursement. The bottom line is the town is not going to be on the hook for any more money. It's just going to be how we manage it. And those conversations I will want. In relation to that school bond, currently the principal is a little bit less. So if we receive our approximate 1.4, 1.5 million on this $2 million loan, we still have enough of principal balance to be down on that loan. So, has anybody had any questions? It was a very complicated
You said there
conversation.
were 3 options and you described 2.
Okay, so the first one was.
Invest it in the max you can invest. Second was pay down current
second
debt.
was Pay down the debt. Third option. Oh, hang on a second. Amy, do you remember?
Sorry.
Use it for future expenditures.
Use it for future expenditures. Thank you.
I was gonna say, early in this meeting, we were talking about bridges that need to be fixed and
Exactly.
library roof, town garage, and I thought, well, you know, there's things we gotta pay for around here.
All of this isn't gonna happen until we fall of next year, because the way things are going at the state level, so far behind.
I'm sure.
This project, which Bill is in the process of finalizing, and he's probably about 60 days off doing that. Backtrack to our oil tank replacement, that project has been complete for a number of months. We're not gonna see that probably until at least next summer. So we budgeted for that to be included, that reimbursement to be included in our fund balance. 2021. We're not gonna, obviously, we didn't see it by the end of June 2021. We're not gonna see it by Christmas either. And Bill is not getting any response with regards to timing from the state. And I know he has really good connections there. He's been doing this long enough to know who are the right people to contact, and he's not getting. So that's basically where we stand with regards to school. I'm happy to share that information in an email tomorrow, but I hope you understand where it is. I can tell you it was a crazy phone call yesterday morning at 11 o'clock. Amy and I looked at each other and said, no. But anyway, we made it happen, and we moved forward on the advice of our bond attorneys. I mean, that's what we pay them to do. So, just so you know, and I get an idea of what that yesterday cost us about $18,000.
What cost 18?
The fees involved in closing that bank loan. $18,000.
The $2 million loan?
Yeah,
Got it.
$2 million. So in reality, if we had done the short-term funding again, which just didn't make sense, we will be on the hook in a year's time for an additional $18,000.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
It was 10 years and you had to keep it for 3.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. I have 4 things on my list.
Questions? Comments?
I was told with they was something like 2.5 years.
Oh, gosh, I don't want to hear that.
Behind. This is someone who knows.
Oh,
And it's not, not just something that affects the town, the state also is weighing
Wait.
So they're not, maybe they're not getting the money from the Fed. Is that what you mean? Potentially.
Some of
They
it
had a
went-
major surplus this
Right,
year.
but when everything went down, you couldn't get anything done. Right? And it didn't take too long before it could even come to someone who needed the money and pay them. It was a year and a half before, after my wife died, right, to get what they owed her.
Wow.
So, but
Wow.
I was just told this because I asked this, I said, well, how are they behind? No, 2.5 years. They're not paying some of their bills right now that they owe from.
Well, we have a number of different projects. We also have a school bridge project, which is ongoing. The next date, what's the time? No, there's no. Oh, there.
That's
Okay.
good.
So what was interesting, our first round of that, the turnaround was 3.6. That one comes back, yeah.
Was that after the pandemic? That reimbursement?
No, well, no, it was during the pandemic.
That's what I mean. After, it just seems like life boils down to before March of
Oh, yeah.
2020 and after March of 2020.
Was
know?
the security grant, sorry, this is Amy St. Ange, was the security grant federal funded though? Or was it state?
It's true this state.
Oh, okay.
It
Okay,
was originally Homeland Security.
Right. okay.
This is our application. Based on-
So maybe not something we need to get deep into now, today, but we should probably think, as we think about the ARPA funds and the timing on that,
Yep.
and what the cash flow implications are gonna be.
Yep.
Yeah, when that's committed and spent and when it's carrying. Interest rates are good, but it's still not zero, the cost to carry.
It is something.
We'll want to plan for that.
That's a lot of money to borrow. We'll, as soon as we start those conversations, we will have to get in touch with, have those meetings with our bond attorney. They need to keep an eye on those things. When things start to change quickly, we need to know about it. We don't have to lock in that money.
So just to follow your train of thought there, the ARPA dollars, they're not dollars up front; they're reimbursement dollars. Is that what you
We
mean?
have ARPA money correct now. We have half of what was appropriated for us.
So some of that money was upfront money.
So we received half of it in May 2021. We'll receive the other half. Goes up to a little bit under in May of 20.
Okay.
That's different.
Right.
It is, but you know, that's May 2022. But then when we bring the Connecticut Challenge, Community Challenges.
Yeah,
grant in
that's
for
the
them,
part that's gonna take a
that's the
long
one
time.
we want. And that's good. That's our way.
But even on the May, it's gonna be just the reality of getting the work done. It'll take time, so.
But it seems like we're a little bit ahead of the game, correct, Amy?
That's what we're understanding compared to other towns in our community. We're far ahead of everybody else, including with the application for Connecticut.
I
Community.
don't know the data, but I would suspect that the amount of dollars that are being spent in the general area are gonna far surpass the amount of the capacity to
Right.
get the work done.
That's why
Right.
we're moving fast.
Yeah.
That's it. That was my next question was gonna be, how is inflation impacting, not just inflation as well as the availability of labor?
Right. Or supplies, construction material.
Just availability altogether.
Total capacity equation.
Well, that's why it's always been my intent from go to really move on the projects that were most necessary
Yes.
and get things moving by spring. We want to be breaking ground in the spring at the Public Works garage. That's the intent, at least on those two projects, which pretty much what we've appropriated, we've already received from the ARPA fund on those two projects. And everything else can kind of hang potentially.
Is the second half of the ARPA funds contingent, just May of next year, contingent on projects already being completed, or is
No,
it just gonna come?
No,
No.
no. There is
Okay, great.
reporting requirements. So there will be a report, I believe, in January.
Yeah, I think so.
So, that's on the planning side. The financial report will be due again in March timeframe, but that seems to be a moving target because, both parents and the ARPA reporting requirements, these are the town side and also, not the. Okay. They're definitely informing us of the change, but they changed quite already.
And go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, no, another thing is, I think Amy had mentioned it before, because all these towns and all these different districts are getting this money all at once, that it's gonna be tough to get people to do the projects. I mean, it's gonna be a shortage of that too. I mean, that's why it's very important that the
Be
important,
first in line.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and so I know in the ARPA final summary and recommendations, Thompson was recipient of 2.7 million, right? And so, what's that? 2.7 and change. And it's just more of a general, you don't have to sort of get out a calculator and crunch it all, but if I were to say, about how much of the 2.7 million do you think is in that category of on track, break ground, spraying, get first in line, get ahead of everybody else? Half of it. So about half of it is, we're on our way. That's great.
Have half.
And we have half.
Because we have half.
As you see, we've got a lot more money in the bank than we did this time last.
A lot of governments do.
Interesting enough, when I've spoken to a couple of the other towns in the area, Pomfret, Canterbury, they're like, even Plainfield, we don't know what we're doing with our money. We have a long list of things we could use it for, so, I'm just, some of the projects, the salt storage facility was, it affects our groundwater, but it's not necessarily a water project. But, and then sewer upgrades. So some of these smaller towns don't have those big facilities. And so they're not facing those problems. So it's a stretch for them to find out how the guidelines will work for them. Because there are guidelines to what you can use the money for, as we know. We're just lucky.
I think bottom line is, if you're,
Lucky, you helped make
That's
this
it.
happen. I mean, truly, you deserve a lot of credit.
I
You-
agree.
I remember early on saying we need to get in line, we need to go first and fast, and you made it happen. So you deserve a lot of credit.
And I was gonna say, if what you're hearing from surrounding towns are, we're not quite sure where we're gonna spend the money yet, then that is favorable to what you just said of, we want to get there before everybody else does, because this may be a bigger problem than just inflation of the price of materials. This may be an availability of labor issue. It may be that by the time you sort this out, you go to the sources that can provide services to municipalities, and they say, "But look, we've already taken down a lot of ores. We can get to you in a couple of years, but that's about as early as we can get there. And we won't commit to what the cost will be at that time, because we don't know what the inflationary environment is going to be at that time." And so then those institutions are going to be, those towns are going to be wondering if they can afford all the projects that they've budgeted for because of the erosion of the value of those dollars. So being first in line means we can do the job based on the dollars that we can see in front of us. Go ahead.
Just build on it a little bit. If that first step is design and engineering, that particular resource is restricted. That holds everything up. Some things are sequential. So that might be the single big, picture could be the single biggest one.
And
There are a
I
lot of
did
engineering
mention,
firms.
we have our
that
final site
quarter of the
plans being
state.
created for the public works project. So the final site plans are in the works.
If you have that, then you can move to the next steps.
and materials, because, the backlog of all
Definitely.
materials is a big issue
Right.
too. I mean,
I will
you definitely
say,
want to,
an interesting crux to all of this is, many municipalities have contracted with NECOG to administer their ARPA funds.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sorry. It's just- I found it kind of funny.
Wow.
It was offered and many of them jumped on board. Oh, yeah, help us administer. And with Orla and Kira, really, really there, we're going to administer it ourselves.
Yeah, that's fine. And a number of other towns have just not decided to do anything with it. The town of Woodstock is hearing in the last week. Killingly and Danielson are going up in December.
are there deadlines for plans on these things?
In January was the
January is
submission for
this-
the initial,
This planning report, that Material will be working on.
and well, we were pushing number one because we wanted to be first in line, but additionally, we initially thought that we had to have it in by October.
Yeah, again, they changed the
They
deadline.
changed the date. So,
Just generally speaking, I think not introducing yet another layer of bureaucracy to the process is probably a good idea. So staying out of NECOG on this is probably a good idea. Anything else on this topic? This was, go ahead. Len.
When you tend to do, one of the things you just said, that to make sure that on the start date or whatever you're gonna do, that those materials are gonna be there, because you know what's gonna happen if it doesn't. Down here, when it does, all of a sudden you just don't have that money that you had for a sign. And that's happening around the country.
It's happening, Rob, man, it's happening with a lot of places. I know somebody that's a contractor, they're a union contractor, and they build schools. And some of these intricate school projects, when they design them, they pick this certain tile or the certain glass, or they can't even get it. Yet, when they go back to try to negotiate, what happens is the people that are paying to have the thing done in a specific way are saying, no, contract says you have to do it this way. We're not going to renegotiate the contract because you said, this is what we're getting. So this is what we're getting. So they're actually held up and can't even finish projects because just can't get what they need. Yeah, no.
We negotiate.
And so this was under financial report. Financial report. Anything, any other questions, comments related to Orla's financial report? Anything else? All right, thank you. Thanks, Orla.
Thank you.
Turlout Fund update, Board of Trustees. I don't know if there's anything to report. If not, that's okay.
We actually just had a meeting at 6 o'clock. And
Long night.
4 of us here.
Long night for you guys.
So,
6:08.
So what we discussed tonight was
That's quick.
approving bills, so I think we complete phase 2 now, right? Yeah, okay. Phase 2 of the window project done, we're paying the rest of the bills next Wednesday, and then we'll move on to phase 3. So, the appropriation, this year's appropriation is 270,000, has been withdrawn from our investment fund, and it's in our money market account now, ready to spend. On phase 3 of the project.
Which is what,
It's the Windows project.
what is phase 3?
Phase 3, I'm not sure which windows is it. It's the windows up in Scavenge for the most part, and some on the back of the building. They're beautiful, they're beautiful.
Question for you, in regards to safety. Not too long ago, I had to come up here, okay, and I'm parked in the front. I'm looking at the windows facing the road that are open, and kids are sitting on, where the glass goes out, over there, in the front,
Okay.
right? And they're sitting there. That's not safe.
No, those windows aren't supposed to be open. So, security does go by and shut them, but sometimes, they open them up and we have to. back them
That's what I didn't want to say that, the teachers are probably, because I'm sure the kid is not doing it on his own, but
So sometimes they open those exit windows, those are the ones that kind of crank out that way. They're the emergency windows, and we've asked teachers not to do that. But I understand the teachers, they want to increase ventilation in the classrooms, right?
I can
So,
understand that, but there's gotta be some other way to
correct.
protect yourself, especially since they took all the trees down over there. I was against, but, it was done, and you can see right across.
Right, but we were on it, and we do have the principals addressing it with the teachers who open those windows.
Teachers are worse than the kids? I'm just kidding.
They need a lot of reminders too.
Sometimes a written reminder is stronger.
Coming from a former principal. Anything else under Turlout Fund update? All right. Move on to new business discussion, possibly schedule Board of Finance meetings in hybrid format through April 30th, 2022. I guess the state says we can continue to do hybrid. Is that what it is, Dottie? The state says, I would like to continue doing hybrid indefinitely if we can, because forever.
I agree.
You know, what's the silver lining to the pandemic is this whole, I didn't even know what a Zoom, basically before the pandemic, I thought Zoom was a television show from the 70s I used to watch when I was a kid. And as a result of the pandemic, this technology was, we all just sprinted with it. We went from 0 to 100 very quickly. And I would be happy with having people watch us from the comfort of their homes indefinitely, because someone is not able to get out. I wouldn't want that to limit their ability to see the and watch and listen to the business. I don't mind being here in person if that's okay with you, Dottie. I don't mind being here in person.
You gonna let them talk to you?
Yeah, we got the citizens'
I know you
comment.
can't,
Yes.
But I said, you know, is it, one's gonna talk to you, the other's gonna talk to you, the other's gonna talk to you, as opposed to having it right in front of you? Having them in front of you?
So that sounds like budget time, right? When the spring, when a lot of people have citizens' comments, right? That might be a little bit of a challenge to manage.
Yeah, last year.
That's it.
You know, and I personally don't object to it. I don't like it. I've used it. Been on Zoom for meetings. I dislike it, but I would like to feel that the people at least reporting to the board would be present.
Meaning, so if someone is going to give citizens' comments, that they actually come to the room? Oh, yeah.
Agenda, and there are people on that agenda who are reporting.
Yes, meaning the department heads who are speaking to that section of the budget that evening. Yeah, I agree. I think that would make sense.
Like tonight. Zoom.
Fair enough. And you can watch as the Board of Finance goes through the budget, and you can kind of, this every year, there are department heads who say, well, tell me when you're gonna get to mine. And I say, I can't really tell you because it depends on how much discussion takes place around each one. But after each hearing, you'll hear from the folks who went to the meeting the last night or 2 nights ago. You'll hear what department they left off on. So when we start getting close to yours, guess what? Start coming to the hearings. And so I think it's fair to ask the department heads to at least come. Now,
At least for a budget.
if we get down to the end of the budget and then we jump back into something and we say, oh, geez, Rich isn't here now because we already covered his section two meetings ago, but he's on Zoom just in case. Rich, can you pipe it and tell us what's going on with X? I'm fair enough with that because we covered his section. We went down to the end and then we jumped back.
Mainly because
I like them
suppose he's
sitting
not
here.
on. And someone
Well,
has a question, and then you're gonna say, well, wait until the other person. Now, the other person probably either forget what's happened or leave because they don't want to wait around. Okay, so that to me, they should be here. Head people should be here to answer them.
Well, I think it's nice to make it a request, but I don't know if we make it mandatory. I think it's nice. I think it would benefit them because they can talk, but I wouldn't make it mandatory.
It would be an indication to me.
Go ahead.
I was gonna comment. So I've only been through 2 cycles.
Yes.
They were both COVID cycles.
Yeah.
So I don't know what life's like when you guys went through it. But prior to that, I also spent years and years in my day job, traveling and working remote. So I'm very accustomed to follow the Zoom and go to meetings. I had a situation last month personally where I had to run up to New Hampshire kind of last minute. I would have missed that meeting. I haven't missed the Board of Finance meeting. I was able to use the technology. Did I prefer it? I don't. It's harder to jump in. I look over at Rob, he's about to say something. There's a lot with the inflection, and I think that's important that people are here. Kind of feeling a little bit like where Steve is, that I think it'd be nice to make it a preference. It'd be beneficial for everyone, not only 6 of us, but the people reporting. If somebody has something, I'd rather, the option is they can't be here and we don't have them at all, or they can't be here and we can get them on a screen. I think as long as it's not abused, and we try our best to be here. I think that
I agree, and it's the same with us. I mean, it's just the same with us. I mean, Steve's away on business, he can still chime in too. Rick,
Life
so
happens.
you either have them or you don't have them at all.
Call in.
Yeah.
Meeting.
And I guess I kind of still come back to what I was thinking of. If department heads keep track of where we are, they'll know at the end of the night of any given budget hearing, they'll hear where we left off. If they know there's sections coming up, please come to the next one. And that way we can really, because we dig in, we really pull some of these departments apart, really dig in, go through all the line items. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Everybody makes their notes. And then we move on to the next one. Fair enough. You don't have to come to the next one. Because you came and you were here in person, that would be great. So that way we get down to the end and then we loop back into it, something else. I mean, it seems like, I know when we get down to the end of the budget, usually we're gonna go back to Public Works, right? We typically do that. If Rich, after being here in person on the first run, if he can at least be available on the Zoom, I'm okay with that. But I do like the idea of at least people being here in person on that first run through. That's just my personal preference.
The issue that we're facing is to approve hybrid meetings, or
Doesn't even.
I'm not sure what the,
So discussion, possibly schedule Board of Finance meetings in hybrid format through April 30th of 2022. So meaning we already scheduled all our meetings, but just to say that they're going to be in hybrid format through April 30th of 2022 because the state has allowed us to do that. It's okay with me.
I was saying, why, why put the end date on there, quite frankly, but
So is this officially the state of Connecticut says you can do hybrid through April 30th?
30th, is that correct? Yeah. And then it might get extended after that. I think they're just trying to work out the details.
You need a motion
does
on
does it mean that you can't have them? Is that sort of the, point that you're not allowed to have them, or it's optional after that, or we don't know? Okay,
It's unclear.
okay, fair, thank you.
For now, do you need a motion on to make the meetings hybrid through April
Do
30th?
do we need a motion? Are you looking for a motion, Dottie? All right, so does someone want to make a motion that our meetings through April 30th, 2022 will be in hybrid format?
So moved.
So Rob Mann has the motion and Steve has a second. Any discussion on this motion?
Try it out way before you. If we're gonna make a decision now, then we're gonna be having that. And at the same time, you're checking to see if it's gonna work. You gonna follow me?
We've had hybrid meetings for 2
This is
years.
a hybrid.
No,
Well-
but, okay, so last year, you had it when you were doing, okay,
It was just virtual last year and just virtual the year before. Wasn't hybrid. Hybrid is we're here and they can talk to us over the TV.
Hybrid's both, yeah, you're right.
If I could also interject that we did the town meetings hybrid.
Okay.
As well, in person and.
Budget workshops, we had budget workshops with just Zoom, nobody in a room. We went through
Oh, yeah,
a whole
that-
budget season like
Yeah,
that.
that,
It isn't better, I don't think. I like being here in person. But the option, is a nice thing.
You know what, you know who it really works for? I'm sorry if I can,
good.
Amy St. Who it really works for is some of the older individuals who have reached out to me. And Dick Morse, in particular, just stands out. He loves the hybrid meetings. He loves the Zoom meetings. He gets in, he can just listen to meetings and be there, and he doesn't have to leave his house, especially when we hit inclement weather. So for some of the older individuals, they really like that. So that's just one case. He's just reached out to me and called me several times, thanking me for the hybrid and for the Zoom meeting. So.
we're old too, you know. Have the people come in here. Argument.
Go ahead, Orla.
Yeah, just to reiterate, but it maybe.
Forgot about us.
We've also got the young moms who,
Yeah.
our dads, parents in general, it's tough to me. So it certainly would have been. And the board of finance. The young, so I get that. you would see a lot of those. Going on meetings over the last few years. I've probably never been able to attend the board of finance or board of selectmen or board of ed.
And Larry, I just don't think of you as old.
Pardon me?
I don't think of you as old. Not
I'll
old.
be 81 tomorrow morning,
Really?
6:15.
Happy birthday.
I'll still be
Birthday,
sleeping now. Huh? You don't look it. You must have had a good.
You guys came back for more.
The other thing is the COVID in general. Some people just not comfortable being in a room with a lot of people. So you can
That's-
throw that out there
that's-
too. I mean, that's,
When you had COVID, you were at your home.
yeah.
I mean, I've done that.
Hybrid.
Right, yeah, nobody was
Yeah.
here.
But screen
We're all on the
sharing
computer.
is yeah, that's true.
So we have an open motion.
We do. Yep. So there is a motion and a second on the floor to adopt hybrid through April 30th of 2022. Any further discussion on, any further discussion?
If it doesn't start to work out, you're gonna continue.
If it doesn't work out, then we'll revisit.
One question I have, Aaron. We're not in budget season yet, we won't be for several months. But do you have a policy with regard to anyone on Zoom and the amount of time they allotted?
So when it comes to citizens' comments, I usually in the budget season, I go with the 3-minute rule. And I just say it's not to prevent people from talking, it's not to be rude, it's more because we've got a lot of work to do. And I always say this, we got a lot of work to do, we got a lot of departments to get through. And if we spend a lot of time on citizens' comments, then we won't even be able to get to the work that we need to do. We appreciate the comments, but please keep them brief, please be succinct, please let us do our work. And what I do is I say 3 minutes for all your comments. So if you've got different topics, squeeze them all into 3 minutes, please.
Especially when we don't. For that.
So any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? So what, 2 abstentions? So that means this is 4 yes and 2 abstentions. The abstentions were Larry. Dave. Okay. All right, we'll move on to Board of Finance member comments. Any Board of Finance member comments?
So motion carried.
That's right, because I said it's 4
Not
to,
just-
yeah, 4 yes and 2 abstentions, motion carries. So we'll move on to Board of Finance member comments. Any Board of Finance member comments?
I had one quick
Go
comment.
ahead.
I like, and I think, I hope, agree, because I think it was your plan to begin with, and others would confirm. When we got into budget season, we kind of kept that 9 o'clock. Kind of cut off. I'm pretty fried after 2 hours of really focusing on the numbers, and I'd rather have more meetings and keep the 2 hours and get into 9:30, 10 o'clock. It just, it's hard to be productive, have good hours, so 2 solid hours, and then we cut it off at 9. Others agree.
I'm gonna work later, but I have no objections to that.
I mean, sometimes it carries over a little bit, but if, we could really find ourselves in, then 9 becomes 10, and then just how productive are you at that time?
Agreed. Any thoughts on that?
I think if you are in a particular area, budget area, discussion going on, I think at least you should go through that area.
Good point. And usually when it's budget season and it gets to be like 8:45, and I can see that we're starting to wind down on a certain topic. Let's say we're about to, let's say that the next department is Public Works. And it's 8:45. I kind of look around the table and say, okay, well, we know we're going to spend more than 15 minutes on Public Works. How about we adjourn for now and then we'll just pick up here next time? And everybody says, yeah, let's do it. So I'm always mindful of what time is it and how far are we away from finishing this topic? And does it make sense to pick up a new one or should we stop I know personally, if the meetings go beyond 9, then I can't wind down. It takes me a certain amount of time to wind down, especially in budget season, because a lot of departments, they have their requests, and then we've got different budgets that we need to consider. And as you get further into the budget season, you can almost start to feel some of the tension building. You start to have to make tough decisions. Some people may not like it, and it takes a while for me. I'll go home and I'll go to bed and I'll just lay there wide awake for like 2 hours. And so if the meeting goes for a long time, then it just takes even longer for me to fall asleep. So then the next day, I'm useless. I really am. In fact, Suzanne Wachowski and I used to call it Board of Finance budget workshop hangover. And we used to say it's all the downside of having had too much to drink the night before, but with none of the upside because you didn't. But you still feel just as bad the next morning. So I'm okay with, I think the way we've done it in the last couple of years is if it gets into mid-April and we still have a long way to go, then we just meet Tuesday, Thursday instead of only on Thursdays. And I'm okay with that because then we pick up more hours.
And I agree with the flexibility. I mean, I would never stop mid-sentence, but I think just managing it as it gets closer, just to keep it somewhat.
I agree. I think it's just like 9 o'clock guideline, I guess you could call it, because there's nights that we cut it off at 9, but then there's other nights where sometimes we are at a point where we just don't want to stop. And we go a little bit over, which is what Dave was basically referring to. And I think just call it a guideline, a 9 o'clock guideline. And if we all agree to stay sometimes, we stay,
On occasion, we've spent extra 5 or 10.
I feel like the incidence of going beyond 9 o'clock is usually a function of how close to the end of April we are. That's it.
That's true.
In March, it's 8:45, all in favor of adjourning? Yeah, no problem, because it's a lot of dialogue, listening and talking and taking notes. And then you get into April and then it's time to start making tough decisions. And then you can just really start to feel the pressure. And then there'll be points where maybe not everybody's in favor of the same reductions. And not everybody likes the reductions that are being made. And that's when, and we look at how much more do we have to go before we reach, say, a tax increase of such and such. We know I got a long way to go. And that's usually when you get into late April is when you might start pushing beyond 9 because you realize we got to get this done. We can't leave here. We need to chain ourselves to this desk and just get it done. Much. All right, so that was Board of Finance member comments. Any other Board of Finance member comments?
Just that the budget season is soon be upon us, and I'd just like to ask all the people involved to focus a little bit on the cost reduction. How can we do what we already do for less cost? Some way to change what we do. Let's keep our minds open to doing something, not just the way we've always done it, some other way. How can we save some bucks? One that comes to mind is we have 4 polling stations in our town. Could we do with less, just as an example? And maybe we can, but maybe there are opportunities for us to find some ways to save some money, as opposed to, I've seen too many budget seasons where this is the way we've always done it. How much more it's going to cost us to do it the same way we've always done it. Just like to have a open mind to some changes.
Actually, Steve, 2 of the polling stations you can walk from the other.
Now you can.
Just as an
I got this
observation.
little bugaboo.
Just an observation, Steve.
Yep, you can now.
It's like, if those who prepare budgets, just kind of look for something. How can we save as opposed to, how can we always do the same thing before?
Any other absolutely. Any other Board of Finance member comments? Anything else? Yep.
Down there. When we had the
Thompson Hill.
Thompson Hill. Okay,
Thompson Hill's been moved over to the library.
We're here. We used to be over there.
So I think District 2 is still here. District 1 moved out, went over there.
We met. Oh, our meetings
Oh.
were always there.
That's right. But before the pandemic, when you gentlemen were still on the board, yes. And we continued to meet over there until the pandemic, which pushed us all onto Zoom. And the only place that we can go hybrid, I guess we can go here or up at the school. We can't do hybrid over at the library because apparently whatever this technology is, is not available in that meeting room that we used to use. And so now in order for us, this is what I'm told, in order for us to hold hybrid meetings, we would need to have it here for now, unless there comes a day when this technology is available over in that meeting room, then we could go back there.
So this brings up something else that we didn't know before we took, that vote. Budget workshops are gonna be very difficult here. If there's a lot of people at a budget workshop,
there's a
we're
lot.
gonna have to have auditorium then, basically. That's the case.
I guess it depends on how many people show up in person.
And the Zoom meeting makes it,
A lot of people,
helps reduce that.
A lot of people won't stay home.
I suspect. And to Larry's point, if it becomes unworkable, we'll revisit.
What did you say?
If it becomes unworkable, we will revisit.
Go visit me at my house?
No.
There's a lot of room.
Although I'd love to stop by anytime. Any other Board of Finance member comments? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? So Dave has the motion and Larry has a second. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstained? This carries 6-0. Thank you, everyone. It's now 8:51 PM.
Pretty good.